Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's NinjaTrader Ecosystem webinar event with Tom of ChartPros. My name is Thomas, and I am the platform representative at NinjaTrader. Today's webinar is interactive, so if you'd like to ask questions during the presentation, please open the chat window. You can open the chat window by moving your mouse to the bottom of the Zoom window and pressing on the chat icon. Now, once you do have that chat window enabled, I would like to test for audio and video. So if you can hear my voice and see the projection on your screen, please enter a Y into that chat window now. All right, looks like I'm coming in loud and clear. Now, we have a very special event for you today with Tom of ChartPros. But before we get started, I would like to place a poll into the room. Now, while you fill out that poll, I would like to mention that it is important to understand that there's substantial risk in trading commodity futures contracts and Forex. You should carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you, and it will depend on your specific circumstances and financial resources. It is possible to lose all funds deposited with the broker and could even incur losses beyond these amounts. Please inquire at the link provided for more information or for a copy of the CFTC full risk disclosure. Also, please remember that these training webinars are not a solicitation or a recommendation, but simply educational in nature. Now, this webinar is presented by NinjaTrader LLC, which is the technology company responsible for developing and supporting the NinjaTrader trading software. Brokerage-related questions should be directed to the brokerage team directly at the information provided or by emailing brokeragesupport@ninjatrader.com. Now, thank you everyone for filling out that poll into the room. Now that poll asked what type of tools or services have you used from the NinjaTrader ecosystem? 40% of you have said indicators or strategies, 18% said education, 2% said programming services, and 40% said nothing yet. Now, the NinjaTrader ecosystem website is home to hundreds of third-party apps and services, all centered around the NinjaTrader platform, with new tools added nearly every day. NinjaTrader ecosystem is home to hundreds of apps and services. You can quickly and easily find the tools or services you're looking for with a simple keyword search. You will also find information about upcoming webinars and an on-demand video archive to view event recordings at the link I'll be posting in the room. Now, for up-to-date information, be sure to like or follow the NinjaTrader ecosystem on social media. And NinjaTrader is always free for advanced charting, strategy backtesting, and trade simulation. To ensure you're on the latest version of NinjaTrader and to pick up a free data trial, please visit the following link. And for more information, you can purchase or lease the NinjaTrader platform at the following link. And if you're just getting started with NinjaTrader, we offer free live trading webinars on a daily basis. You can view a schedule of those weekly webinars at the link. Now, we are very excited for this unique event in which Tom will demonstrate top trading psychology and mindset techniques used by the most successful traders in the industry. Thanks again for your attendance today. And without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome to the NinjaTrader Eco webinar room, Tom. Please take it away, Tom.
Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate that. And hello, everyone. I am in the process of sharing my screen here so everyone can see the presentation today. All right, so you should have my screen, and I'm opening up chat so that I can see questions as they roll in. Again, thank you. I appreciate the fine introduction, Thomas, and the relationship that we've built with NinjaTrader over the last year has been nothing short of brilliant. I think the service offerings that are provided to the traders are really second to none. And if I did my math correctly, that quick poll, I think, suggested that about 60% of people said that they've used strategies and education. And fortunately, that's what we're here to talk about today. And a little bit about ChartPros is essentially what we do is we offer advanced strategies and education for trading, but essentially simplifying those advanced complexities and strategies for beginner, intermediate, and advanced traders. And a little bit about myself, I've been a trader for over 20 years. The gray hair kind of probably gives it away. My background is in technology and finance. My undergraduate back in the day was in what they call management science, which is nowadays called computer science or operations research or supply chain management, but it was very heavily oriented in statistics. So it's, I think, probably one of the reasons I've developed a passion for trading and charting and stuff like that. My MBA is in finance and marketing, and so I feel like I get to use my degrees every day. I trade just about everything out there, most of the things that you trade as well. I trade traditional futures, forex, commodities, equities, and options. Although not as much on the equities as I did when I was younger, I utilize my trading strategies for equities using equity options. And the last thing to note, about 2 years ago, I went through a very rigorous process to become a certified mental performance coach, which I didn't really know at first how valuable that was going to be in helping other traders. I really went through it to sort of help myself in the spirit of trying to make a good trader better. I got into it, but what I found was I've been able to help other people immensely. And that's really the reason that I started ChartPros, was to pay it forward. I had some really good teachers and mentors along the way that without their assistance in what felt like a real personal interest in my advancement in trading, primarily from an education and strategy standpoint, I couldn't have done it without them. I couldn't have made it to where I'm at today. It's not a very long list, but it's a very important list of mentors that I've had. So I like to be that mentor, be that person for traders out there, whether I can leverage technology to help the masses or I can help traders one-on-one, which I do. So I like to leverage my background to do that. So really, from a philosophical standpoint, some of the things that really motivate and drive me from an education and strategy standpoint, not only to help others to pay it forward, but our philosophy is if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, you teach a man to fish, and he can feed himself for a lifetime. And that's the approach that we take with our trading. You'll see that we're not an indicator service. We don't provide signals. We don't have. We're not going to send out an alert and tell somebody when to buy, when to sell, when to get out. Rather, what we'd like to do is teach people how to do that for themselves, because trading styles are immensely different. And we're going to talk about some of that today as we talk about trading psychology and mindset. So that's kind of the thing that really, helps drive us from an organizational perspective. If you haven't heard this statement before and it's new to you today, you might not be surprised by it. And even if you have heard of it, 95% of retail traders fail. When we talk about a retail trader, we're talking about me and you and the people on this room that trade our own personal money. We don't trade for other people. We don't work for an institution. So we're considered retail traders. 95% of us fail. And I saw that number, and given my stats background, I'm like, wow, that's a really, really high failure rate, and it's just a percentage of a standard deviation of people who succeed. And I said, what did I have to do to be in that small sliver of people who can consistently be successful with trading? And one of the things that I found in working with others, and I've experienced most of this stuff, but when it comes to trying to be in that top 5%, it's learning how to control that voice inside of us that causes us to chase trades, maybe enter too early, revenge trade. And I'm guilty of all these in my past. Fear of missing out, FOMO. Many of you have heard of that. When we get into these situations, that little voice will cause us to overtrade, undertrade, blow up our account, regardless of how small or large it is. And that list goes on. I'm sure that you have some others that come to mind when you hear that. So that's what we're going to try to do, is how can we learn to control that voice? And it is a learned behavior. We can do things to help, mitigate the risk as far as that goes. So when we talk about, mental performance, I like to define, what we consider as mental performance. And it's both an art and a science of learning how to overcome mental barriers that trip you up and and help you build new habits, behaviors, and routines. You heard that. That's building new habits, behaviors, and routines, because that's what it takes to be in that top 5% that you need in order to achieve your trading goals and perform at a high level, even when it's hard. And if you haven't found out that trading is hard yet, you're probably in for a rude awakening, because it's not easy. Okay. And it's not for everybody. That's why 95% of the people don't succeed as retail traders when it comes to that. When we talk about mental performance, what I like to talk about are pillars of mental performance and the foundation of what it takes. And I've listed some of them here today. And gosh, I've got a 3-month program, that I spend and going through all of this. So to condense it down to about 30 minutes was somewhat of a challenge, if you will. But we talk about having an elite trader's mindset. And when we talk about being an elite trader, we don't mean, from a personal standpoint where we think we're better than someone else, not that part of being elite, but elite believing that we can be in that top 5% or top 10% from a trading perspective and a philosophical approach to create a process and to follow that process, over and over and over again. Another pillar is motivation and commitment. Motivation is what gets you started. Commitment is what keeps you going. Focus and awareness, self-control and discipline. These are all things that, you've heard before. They're probably not brand new concepts. And quite frankly, a lot of them are easy to say and hard to do, particularly process over outcome. And we're going to spend some time on that. Mental imagery and meditation. I like to think when I grew up, I was somewhat of a tough guy, and I thought that mental imagery and meditation was for people that weren't tough and they were for softies. And I'm here to tell you that's not the case. And I think as I've matured, as a trader and matured, in my career, I have found and kept my mind open to learning new things almost continuously. But we have to build routines and habits of excellence. One of those is time management and organization. As a trader, it's just a must. We've got to have those. So what does it take? When it comes to personal transformation, and that's what it takes to be in the top 5% of retail traders, the most important ingredients are your willingness to change, the clarity of your intent, and the strength of your desire. Again, easy to say, very complex and hard to do. But when you break it down to a process that you can follow, that's what makes it easier. So again, your willingness to change, the clarity of your intent, and the strength of your desire. And if you were already as successful as you wanted to be, I suspect that you probably wouldn't be here today. But even myself, I'm always trying to learn from others. I like to think I know a lot, but I don't pretend to know it all. So today's focus and the remainder of the time that we have is going to be spent on these topics: risk management, which is the most important aspect to being a trader, because that's what it comes down to, is risk management of your capital. Trade execution and management, process over outcome. That's a biggie with me. If you've ever been on one of my sessions before around trading psychology or read any of my articles, you hear me talking a lot about process over outcome. And not to get too far ahead of myself, but the outcome is making money. It's why we all trade, right? But if you're focused on making money rather than focusing on the process of trading, you're not going to be as successful as you can be. And not to make it sound like a play on words, but that's very true. So we have to align our actions to goals. For people that are day traders, I like to talk about a concept, first trade of the week, and then recovering from a loss, because as traders, we all have losses. And if you follow people or you learn from others and they try to tell you that they don't lose, that's usually not true. So let's take a look at risk management and what that means, for me today. You may have heard of a concept called scared money never wins. And what that means is if you're trading with your rent money or mortgage money or your car payment, your kids' tuition, or whatever happens to be, that's a recipe for disaster. And that's what they mean by that, saying that scared money never wins. So if you're in that position, I highly encourage you not to be trading, with that money. You have to be able to trade with money that you can afford to lose. And I know it's it's kind of the chicken and the egg. How can I get there if I don't have enough just yet? And so people are lured into using margin. And that's something that I always tell people you have to be very careful of, because margin is essentially a loan. And, Thomas mentioned the risk disclaimers earlier that, yeah, you can lose money in a hurry. So you have to be very careful about your use of margin. And a percentage of your book being your investment account, and not allocating too large of a percentage on a per trade basis. A nice rule of thumb that I've always learned is, 5% of your book should never go into more than a single trade. It's also important from a risk management standpoint to know when not to trade. There's just certain times, certain events, certain circumstances. It could be personal, it could be professional, it could be something beyond our control in the marketplace. And there's sometimes it's just okay. We don't have to be on every turn of the market. It's okay not to trade. It's okay to be on the sidelines. Cash is a position, as they say. A concept of bracket orders as part of risk management. And let's say you're opening a position and you've got an even number of positions, and you're going to take half that position off at at a predefined profit, and then you can move your stop into break even from there, and you've got a risk-free trade from there on out. And that's the concept of bracket orders that we teach our traders a lot. And live is not like demo. Okay. When I first started trading, years ago, and they had paper accounts, I was slinging, 100 contracts here or 50 contracts there, and I really didn't treat it like I should have. And I see a lot of new traders. I see a lot of intermediate traders still do that. So for me, live was one contract, just because I take a different approach mentality when my money's on the line. From a trading psychology standpoint, we talk about trade execution and management, and it comes down to a matter of style. You talk about, well, what's your trading style? Well, I didn't know I had one. I didn't know I needed one. People say, well, how do I get one? Well, it really comes down to how is your personality infused into your trading? And there is no single correct way to do it. There's certainly better ways than others. But some of the things that from a trade execution and management standpoint that we advise our traders is to have predefined trade plans for entry and exit. And I can't tell you how many times I get the question, do I really need a stop loss? I'm like, well, yes. In my opinion, you do. Trading without a stop loss can be extremely dangerous and risky from a capital preservation standpoint. What I like to use an analogy is compare how trading is like going to the gym and working out. Many of you have probably worked out or currently work out. And, I don't think that you often go to the gym at 9:30 Eastern time in the morning and leave at 4 p.m. and work out the entire time. No, you go, you get your work done, you get in, you get out, and you leave. Well, the market can be very similar to that, based on whatever personal or professional constraints you have on your time. Define when you can trade. If things hit your levels during that time, then great. And if they don't, well, they don't. Okay. But, not many people can sit in front of their screens all day long and trade. I get that. Whether you're a day trader or a swing trader, whatever your time frame, whatever your account size is, no two traders are exactly alike. But one thing that I do suggest and highly recommend to traders is let the chart do its thing. If you've got a defined edge, whatever it happens to be, and we're not talking about how we define our edges today, but let the chart do its thing. And from a mathematical and statistical standpoint, it never ceases to amaze me how the chart does what it does from a mathematical standpoint, from price action standpoint. So let the chart do what it's going to do. Here's my stickler again: process over outcome. What is your edge? Whether you do follow signals or whatever it happens to be, if you're a price action trader, whether you're using Fibonacci or you're just support and resistance and trend, whatever it happens to be, have a predefined plan, have a predefined exit. Because if you don't have those going in, then how can you measure your success? What is your risk tolerance? Your risk tolerance being, a stop loss. Create trading rules for yourself. Not everybody has the same trading rules. And continuous learning is very, very important to traders because there's always new stuff to learn that's out there. And that's, as you go through these things, this is how you'll adapt and create your own trading style, from a time frame standpoint, from an account size, whatever that happens to be. Talk about align actions to goals. Again, our goal is to make money. And these are some of the things that, if you're doing the things on this list, and I realize we talked through some of these a little bit earlier, but if you're doing the things on this list, then your actions are not aligned to your goals of making money. So you have to be very, very sensitive and have self-awareness around that, and ask yourself, use this maybe initially as a checklist for yourself. Do I have problems with one or more of these things? Have I been guilty of this? And again, as I came up and learned as a trader, I was guilty of every one of those, and probably even some more. So again, it's so important to align our actions to goals. And again, I know there's different types of goals, but I don't know anybody that's gotten into trading that doesn't enjoy the benefit of the potential of making money. So those are our goals. We talk about managing your week. And again, this is more for a day trader or short term swing traders. We talk about a concept of having a very highly scrutinized first trade of the week. And what that means is it's always better from our perspective if you can start with a win, of course. Okay. And so that means that our edge should be extremely tight. We want to make sure we're aware of any news events, and it's just highly scrutinized. And it's different than any other, because you only have one first trade of the week, and it has to be extremely highly scrutinized. But let's say we don't win our first trade. How do we recover from a loss? Well, the principles that we teach of recovering from a loss is we want to get back to net zero as quickly as possible, so that we can go through the simulation of another first trade of the week that's very highly scrutinized. So it won't be our first trade, but it's still very highly scrutinized. The concept of rolling out. If you do have positive equity at the end of the week, some of the principles that we teach from a money management standpoint are to roll that out. And so that when you start the next week, it's a zero-sum game. And so that's a practice that I personally have followed for years, is I start every week with the same account size. And that way, I don't get ahead of myself. I try not to make the mistakes of over trading. I can't blow up a very large account if I don't have a very large account. So again, as I practice, good risk management, techniques from there. At the end of the day, there's some principles that you have to know in the market. And I didn't make these up, but I've experienced a lot of them. You have to realize that anything can happen. I hear so much recently, the futures are trading at all-time highs, and say, well, it just can't keep going up. Well, yes, it can. Okay. And even back last spring, when we had some limit down days, people were thinking to themselves, well, it just can't keep going down. Well, yes, it can, because anything can happen in the market. And, when I was in graduate school back in the late 80s, the S&P went down about 22.5% in a single day. Now, from a real number standpoint, it was about 500 points back then. But think about if the S&P went down 22.5, almost 25% in a single day today. Talk about panic in the streets, okay? There's been safeguards that have been put in place. So, a concept called limit down. The market goes down more than a certain percentage point during the day, trading is halted. So if you were trading last spring, you probably experienced that. Same thing with a limit up. So there are safeguards, but you have to know that anything can happen. You don't need to know what is going to happen next in order to make money. That is a proven concept in the marketplace. There is a random distribution between wins and losses for any given set of variables that define your edge. Hopefully your edge has a statistic probability that's greater of a win than it is for a loss, but you have to know that it's not guaranteed. As a trader, we can never have expectations of what the market's going to do. We can anticipate, we can react, we can project. But again, not to make it a play on words, as traders, we can never have an expectation of what price action is going to do. But an edge is nothing more than an indication of a higher probability of one thing happening over another. And again, that's why we trade, and that's why we have our systems, whether you're a price action trader, whether you're using signals or indicators, whatever your style happens to be. but every moment in the market is unique. Again, we have to know that, and that anything can happen during those moments. There's a list of resources I like to share from a trading psychology standpoint. A lot of my work has been modeled after Mark Douglas, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but he left us traders with just some phenomenal materials that we can learn from a trading psychology and mindset. And he was, I think he was one of the early pioneers that really set the trail for trading psychology, and he worked with institutional traders. But there's a powerful series, it's on YouTube, and it's free. It was a 2-day in-person seminar. It's about 6 hours total. But again, this is part of your transformation. How committed are you to changing? How committed are you to learning new things? I've watched that video series probably no less than 10 times, and it's like a movie on Netflix that you watch for the second time or third time, and you seem to pick up new stuff each and every time. That was no different for me. There's a PDF version of that book. It's in our class, the free class that you have access to as participating, in this session today. And it's just, again, I can't emphasize enough that trading psychology and mindset, it's not a single thing. It's a combination of different approaches. It's a combination of developing a methodology and a process for yourself and following that. One example I like to use, because most traders have done this, is, I said, man, I keep entering trades too early. And so, well, let me ask you this. The last time you were on a commercial airline flight, assuming that you were on one at some point in your life, would you want your pilot to take off too early? Of course you wouldn't. Would you want your pilot to take off too late? No. Then why do we do those things to ourselves? And it seems like there's more self-sabotage when it comes to trading than any other, profession or hobby or passion that I've ever run across. And so, immerse yourself in learning, immerse yourself with the teachings of Mark Douglas, and adapt this into your style as far as that goes. I know we're coming up on the part where we go into questions. The PDF version of that, if you Google it, you'll find it, but we also have incorporated these links and that PDF into the free course that you can enroll in by being a part of this session today. And here's the link for that. I'm going to go ahead and put it back into chat. We did this before we got started, but we're going to put it again. If you go to our website, stockchartpros.com, you can download that. I'm actually going to take us out there, assuming you can still see my screen that I've shifted over to a web browser. This is our main website, and what I want to point out is this link for free courses. This is where you can go to download or to enroll into the course Introduction to Trading Psychology and Mindset. You'll notice that we also have some other free courses, and you're free to enroll in those too. The previous Ninja Trader presentation that we did last summer was around price action trading. And so with our focus on laser focused levels of technical analysis, you can get some insights into how we actually do that as well. But when you're at our website, we encourage you to peruse. We've got a lot of free resources. We've got some free trials as well too. There's different course overviews that you can watch around price action mastery. We've got a 7-day trade booster where we actually will share our charts, and so you can see what they are. But again, we're not going to tell you when to buy, when to sell, those types of things. Performance coaching and mentoring. I work with traders one-on-one. I've been doing that for a number of years. You can sign up for individual sessions, but we also have a new program that we started in the last year, and that's a trading psychology boot camp, where we'll accept 10 traders at a time into that. And it's a 3-month program that takes you through essentially the program that I've introduced you to today. Will take you through that and apply it to your trading and your trading style. As far as that goes, there's an advanced futures course, and then we have a trader readiness assessment. And again, this would be for beginners, intermediate, or advanced, where you can go ahead and answer a series of questions, and kind of help answer, do you have what it takes to be in that 5% of retail traders that are deemed successful? We've got some testimonials so you can see what some other traders have said about ChartPros and working with us. And we've got market insights, which are essentially free articles, free webinars, things that go on. It seems to be lately, one of the biggest questions I get from a trading psychology and mindset is trading all-time highs, because it is more difficult, and you lose half the price action tools that are available to us, from a trading perspective. And so about a month ago, I did a webinar on that, and it's free to access. You don't have to put in a credit card or anything. You can just go watch that. But some do's and don'ts about trading all-time highs. And again, part of that trading psychology and mindset of knowing when not to trade. There's just certain times when I personally won't trade. As I got into, later in the calendar year of 2020 and the holidays were approaching, I just took about 10 days off from trading, and that's okay. It's okay to do that. I closed all my positions and just enjoyed, personal time with family and away from work. And so whatever those constraints or parameters are that you experience in your personal or professional endeavors, know that that's okay. And so there's a whole series of that. You can join our email list. And again, just a tremendous number of resources. So I know we've reached the time allocated for questions and answers. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment and monitor the chat and just see if we have questions, and I'll leave our website up there. Humphrey, you're welcome. Appreciate you being here. Thank you, Shelly. I can do this anytime. Great job. Appreciate that. If you can't tell, I get very passionate about teaching and helping other traders because it is complex. It is difficult. You're welcome, Stefan. It is difficult. But if you can develop a process that works for you and follow that process, then it's not as difficult as it initially appears. Thank you for all the kind words that I see coming into chat. Shelly, you're welcome. What is an IPO? It's initial public offering when a company becomes listed either on the NASDAQ or one of the publicly traded markets. In my opinion, what is the optimal way to mix a 9-to-5 job with trading? It really, again, it comes down to planning. Assuming that's a Monday through Friday 9-to-5 job, then your preparation and time management approach to that has to happen outside of your work hours, obviously. And so for most traders, that means on the weekend or in the evenings, and prepare your plan for the next day. And I don't know if that means you don't have any computer access during the day. And maybe, maybe day trading is not appropriate for you, but whatever time frame fits into that for you. Do you ever see traders who have been trying to learn for a long time turn their trading around? Absolutely, yes, every day. And you can read the testimonials of those traders on our website. And there's nothing that makes me happier than helping somebody do that. And I'll give you an example. I won't use the name, but their testimonials on our website. And this was a year ago around Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving 2019. So a little more than a year ago. And I had a trader, he was about ready to quit, give up on trading, and said he knew what to do. He knew how to chart, But his problem really came down to risk management, from a trading psychology standpoint. And so he signed up for a session and it helped him out. So he signed up for another one. Long story short, we worked together for about 3 or 4 months. He did 22 sessions with me. He didn't start out to do 22 sessions, and said he made more than 10 times his money in the investment of those sessions just trading from that standpoint. Now, there are no guarantee for results, all the risk disclaimers and all that kind of good stuff. But you talk about a personal transformation and somebody that was committed to changing, then absolutely that was phenomenal. How do you deal with losses? Losses are part of it. And trading psychology is a lot like being an athlete. Okay. Whether you play an individual sport, whether you're, professional or amateur, whatever it was, or where like golf and tennis, those are more about individual performance, which trading can be like, and like you're on an island, you're in an isolation. But even team sports depend on individual performances, whether you're a quarterback or a pitcher or hitter, whatever it happens to be. And so, dealing with a loss, you have to know that's part of it. It's just part of it. You can get to a point where, and this is even true of me today, I probably lose more trades during a week than I win, but I make more money than I lose. And that's the name of the game. Says, hello, Tom, this is Sam. Can you talk more about the boot camp? Yeah. So the boot camp it's an immersive trading psychology and mindset curriculum that I take traders through. And we do a lot of one-on-one extra. They're all one-on-one sessions, but there's 7 90-minute sessions, Zoom sessions in a 10-week period. And so it's think about this whole concept that we talked about today applied to you personally and your trading style over a 10-week period, from risk management to the money management to stop management and all the different things that we talked about today. And so that's available off of our website. We just started a new cohort. I opened it up for 10 traders for that boot camp. And so for the next 10 weeks, that's all there'll be. And it'll sell out on our website and you won't be able to sign up for that. If that does happen, you can still do individual one-on-one sessions, and the calendars are available online so you can see what's out there. Can you please say something about self-sabotage? What I see many times and what I've learned just from a human psychology standpoint is we have these mental blockers from somewhere in our past. And more times than not, it has nothing to do with trading, but it blocks our ability to follow our plan. It's that little voice that makes us do the things, or when you're all done, say, why did I do that? I'm such a dummy. Okay. That there's something deep rooted psychological that I've learned. And I've learned from, some of the top trading psychologists in the industry, now I'm not trying to pretend to say I can fix those, but that's usually the reason. Edward, I'm new to trading and futures. And yes, well, good. Welcome. Glad to have new traders all the time. Daryl, thank you. Yes. And ironically, you talk about that. I was doing a series of sessions in the boot camp with a professional musician. And so there was a lot of similarities, and he totally understood and got the concepts we were talking about, because you have an individual part that's part of the entire band, if you will. Thanks for your effort today. Any rule of thumb for helping stick to your plan? Yes, make it a method, make it a written down process, and follow that process. And again, this comes from my computer science upbringing. It's almost like workflows and flowcharts. If this happens, then I will do this. If this doesn't happen, then I won't do this. I had a question yesterday from one of our traders, and we were looking at a potential entry. It was on gold, and it front ran, which means it came close to a 61%, 8% retracement, but didn't quite fill that level. And I said, hey, since it came close, would you have still entered this? And I just simply answered that, no, I've reached the point in my trading career. If it doesn't reach my level, I won't enter. I just won't. And price ran away. It could have worked out if someone did enter earlier. And then within 12 hours of that, it just absolutely tanked through that level. So I guess hindsight's 2020. But no, that's just some rules and thumb. Create a process, follow your process. Oscar, do you have a course on charting techniques? Yes. Again, that's out here. You can enter into our free course, the Introduction to Price Action Trading. That will get you started into charting and technical analysis, the way that we do that. Mohammed, I just want to ask, how do you deal with a string of losses? Just part of it. I've got a series of, in the Mark Douglas thing, he actually says, once you define your edge, go through a series of 20 trades, with your edge and with your system. You have to give it 20 trades to see if it works. And so I did that, and I lost my first 5 trades, but I was committed to the process more than I was the outcome. I ended up winning 11 out of 20 trades, even though I lost the first 5. You have to accept losses are part of it and know that you can overcome them. Kevin, my biggest problem is when a stock goes up, I don't take profits as FOMO that it will go higher, usually end up giving those profits back. That's why it's so important to have a predefined entry and a predefined exit. And lots of times I leave money on the table because I've gotten out on my predefined exit. But over the long haul, that will enhance your consistency and confidence so long as you define that process and follow that process. Don't worry about the money that you didn't make. Worry about and be concerned with the money that you do make and get to keep. John, I trade E-mini S&P. It is very fast. How can your training help? From a price to action standpoint, it says very fast. Well, if you're looking at a 1 or 5 minute chart, yeah, it seems very fast. If you're trading on a 1 hour, 4 hour weekly chart, they don't seem to move that fast. So if it seems too fast, I would recommend trying a higher time frame. But our principles that we teach in price action mastery are for all time frames. Thoughts on algorithm trading? Yeah, absolutely. We have an advanced futures course out here that's based on the institutional algorithms. And we teach traders how to spot and identify those. It's a very advanced course with advanced Fibonacci's. But yes, once you can spot and identify those, they're very helpful to a trading style. Mike, thank you for your comments. I appreciate that feedback. Edward, how much do we charge for a session? All the fees are on our website. If you go out there, we charge beginners the same as advanced. We don't charge beginners extra. So if you just wanted a performance coaching session, you can come out here. You can see the calendar. We've got the calendar set for the next month or so. And right now, because I knew I was doing this session today, all those time slots would be directly with me. We do have other trainers and instructors, but right now all those sessions are with me. Tom Brady, do you have a feel for the direction of the market? Are we in a bubble? I have no idea. If the direction, the question is, are we in a bubble? I have no idea if we're in a bubble. The direction has been up for the last 20 years. It's been up for the last 2 months. It's been up for the last year. So the trend is your friend, as they say. But within those trends, there's certainly cycles. One thing for sure, for certain that we can say about the market is all it does is cycle. The market cycles up, the market cycles down. Do I have a market that you avoid trading, for example, Forex? That's a great question, Loya. I was extremely intimidated by the futures and Forex before I started trading traditional futures. But I've gotten to the point from an education and mindset standpoint where I feel comfortable charting and trading anything that's out there. And I will chart a lot of instruments that I don't trade just for the practice. And then I will follow those. There's a lot of equities that I'll chart just for the practice. I don't always trade them, but it helps me be a better trader. When one is new to trading, what is an option and what is a put? Edmundo, that's a very long answer. We probably don't have time for today. And there's much documented on the internet about that I'm sure you could Google and find out. Daniel, I was 40 points up last Tuesday and finished same 40 down in the same session. I would argue to ask, what was your plan going into that? Edmundo, I'm not sure. Can that company get money out of your account without one's permission? I'm not sure what that means, but typically that answer is no. Mike, I took 2 wins last week on FDAX futures and 1 winner on Tuesday. One thing I encourage people to do is don't keep score by your wins and losses. You let your account be the scoreboard. How long can it take to become a consistent trader? Well, that really comes down to the individual, Roger. I've seen personal transformation, happen very quickly, and I see some traders, still working on it, even after several months. But it really comes down to that, that commitment and willingness to change. And what is your desire to change? Do you incorporate EFT in your program? I'm not quite sure what you mean by EFT. My trading style is price action. Any to say about that? Yeah, I love price action. There's only 5 price action tools that I consider valid to use. Support and resistance, trend, Fibonacci, change control zone, and supply and demand zones. How do you lose more trades and make more money? Risk management. You gotta cut your losses soon, and you gotta let your winners run. That's straight out of Mark Douglas. What do you recommend to overcome trading? Create a plan and follow your plan. Manfred, I don't have the link handy for that PDF, but if you enroll in our free introductory class, it's in there. Do you recommend automating one's rules so they are less likely to break them? Depends on how you can automate, those rules, but yeah, absolutely. Anything you can do to help break your rules is usually positive. For an intermediate trader, what would be a good order for the courses? Humphrey, one thing you can do, because I don't know what your level would be, take the introduction to price action trading that's free and kind of see where you think you might stack up in there. But if you are to consider yourself, familiar with the concepts in there, then take a look at the advanced futures. Have your time frames gotten bigger or shorter over time? I intraday trade and I swing trade, so I think both of them have gotten longer. And I've gotten a warning. We've got just a few more minutes left in a session. Is it live trading or working to create a plan? I've done both, Margaret. Could you repeat your pillars for price action? My chair squeaked. The tools for price action are support and resistance, trend, Fibonacci, change control zones, and supply and demand zones. Advice for scalpers: have a plan. Doesn't matter what your time frame is, but have a predefined plan going in and coming out. Thomas, just jump in whenever I need to cut off, because I'll sit here and answer questions all night long. And I promised you I'd be done before midnight, and I think I've accomplished that.
So let's go ahead and hit for the end time around 3:05 Mountain Time. So about another 2 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you. You're welcome. Appreciate it, John. could I talk more about trailing stops and risk-free trades? Yes, I always, for me personally, my style is I'll use structure to set my initial stops, and then trailing, I'll usually use in the opposite direction, usually fib levels, to move my stop up. My background, so I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've run an online training company for the last 15 years or so. So I know how to deliver education. Trading is a passion of mine. I don't know many traders that's not a passion for them. But my undergraduate degree is in computer science, and I have a master's degree in finance and marketing. Is there an indicator you would recommend when to trail and when to sit? I don't use indicators at all. I just use structure from price action. Godwin, as far as I know, there will be a recording available that Ninja Trader personnel and team members will publish. It's usually in the next day or so. Bracket orders is a concept from a risk management. And what I had mentioned earlier is usually if you have an even number of trade or contracts into a trade, is